All right, so you hear this all the time, and it's when people say basically, if I could have it my way and do everything all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. Because doing all those things is what actually led me to be here and be the person I am today. But I don't agree with that, honestly. And I think it's kind of like a cliche because if I could basically go back and fix all those mistakes, I would basically avoid them. And if I could go back theoretically and still know exactly where I wanted to end up today, I would just basically fix my mistakes and then still end up here, but be in a much better spot. Okay. So I don't really agree with that. So my point is, as you're watching this video, the whole goal is learn from my mistakes and go ahead and basically grow from them. Okay, so don't try to make your own mistakes to see how it goes so you have no regrets. That's just stupid. But instead, learn from your mistakes like I am right now, and learn from the ones that you haven't made yet that you might watch in this video, so this way you can avoid them. Okay, because some mistakes actually cost you a lot of money, a lot of time, and just like you actually want to avoid them like the plague overall. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you my top 7, but there are actually a lot more. But let's get right into the video. And as always, guys, do me a favor and smash the like button. Now, the very first mistake that I actually wish I didn't make was basically I stayed way too long with my parent. Okay, so basically I should have moved out a lot earlier. Now, I say that, but I don't even agree with myself because I moved out at the age of 24. On average, you might have someone move out at 18. And I think that's pretty stupid. Like moving out when you have a bunch of debt, moving out when you can barely afford to do it, that's probably like just like rushing it a little bit too much. Okay. But there are also another extreme where people basically move out when they have like a whole down payment for a home and that takes them decades or like a year, or like you're living in the basement. That's just like unnecessary, but it's like a springboard. That's what living with your parent is. Okay, so I should have moved out the minute I had enough money to like pay off all my loans, have an emergency account, and basically get a place to live. But I don't regret staying there as long as I did. I just basically said I wasn't going to say that, but it's very true. You know, I don't regret it. You know, I come from a culture where basically people usually tend to move out of my culture when you're getting married. And obviously I'm not married yet, but I moved out for the sake of like, you know, like I wanted like some independence also. I wanted to kind of like have that. And I was also being able to actually take care of myself. And there was also opportunities somewhere else. So I took advantage of them too. So that was one thing, but I don't regret it because that was a super important moment. And once you move out, man, something happens to you and you grow so much and you gain so much experience and it's so valuable. But you don't want to rush and you don't want to take too long. So just like make a conscious decision of when the time is to actually move out. And it's not about I have a down payment, I don't have to pay rent. No, it's more about like it's a springboard. So I have no debt, I have an emergency account, I have some savings. I can kind of go out there, get an apartment, and kind of like start figuring things out. But don't wait until everything is right because it won't ever make sense to basically keep milking your parents. Okay, that always makes sense financially, but it doesn't make sense for growth. And if you do stay with your parents, make sure you cover the bills or do something else so you can actually pull your own weight. Do not be one of those people that takes advantage of their own parents. Now, number 2 is thinking that I was too good or too dumb for certain jobs. Okay, so I always had this thing as far as, for example, being a waiter or, for example, working at McDonald's or a fast food restaurant. But I actually regret not going into those type of jobs because I could have learned a lot of different skills. And on top of that, being a waiter, I could have earned so much more money than I could, for example, like doing like work study or working at the Gap or any of those retail jobs because the pay kind of just sucked. Okay. But being a waiter, you could have earned so much more money and you could have learned so much interpersonal skills. So no job is beneath me, but I'm also not willing to do just any job because my time is also precious and ethically, like I'm just not going to be doing any type of job whatsoever either. But be open to working jobs. That's my main thing. I could have gained a lot more experience. And I was also afraid sometimes that I wasn't good enough to work certain jobs. Like, for example, like to get an internship or to like go into a certain sector of a career, like thinking like, man, I'm not that smart enough to actually do that. But in reality, all skills are basically learned. And if you go in the mindset of I'm not smart enough, you're probably not going to get it done. But if you go into the mindset of I can just grow from it, learn from it, get better at it, then that's more than enough. And there are so many great fields out there that people don't take advantage of because they have the wrong mindset. Like I went into accounting, people said, Tommy, that's all math, is you got to be really good at math. It has nothing to do with math. people say, well, I want to do, for example, like software engineering, but I'm not good at those skills. But you learn those skills, okay? So be open to trying things out. That's my main thing, especially when it comes to like different types of work. Now, number three is going to college instead of, for example, a trade school or community college. Now, my road was a lot more different. If I could go back into my educational like field, I probably, because the thing is this, okay, guys, my dream school was like a school in New York, and when I applied, I did not get accepted. And my automatic sensation was, well, I'm gonna go to the next school that offers me the most money, and that was basically a private school that really wasn't that great. So what I wish I could have done, and I know today, but no one offered me this, no one told me this whatsoever, is I wish I would have gone to community college. And there was a college right across the street from my house. So I could have gone to community college right across the street. I could have raised my GPA average, okay? And then I could have applied to the college again. I could get in and save a bunch of money, okay? But instead I went to like private school. I graduated from there and I didn't get the same opportunities, and that kind of sucked. And if I actually wanted to get into a trade, then obviously I would have gone into a trade. But when you're in high school, like they don't actually recommend that much. Like, oh, do this and do that, right? Like they're all about go to college, go to 4-year college. They want to make sure you graduate fully. But I would have just gone to community college, and I actually would have done that instead. Now, the third regret that I actually have is trying to build credit. So when I was in college, my whole idea was people told me, Tommy, if you don't have any credit, then you're kind of screwed, okay? It's going to suck for you. But in reality, that's actually not true. You don't actually need to build credit to buy a house because you have manual underwriting. You don't need credit to buy a car because you can just pay cash for a used vehicle. There are a lot of things I just did not learn in college. And by the time I actually started to learn them, my mind would just reject them. Like I was super against Dave Ramsey for a long time because all the books I read up to that point all went against Dave Ramsey. And then I realized like, hey, this stuff makes a lot of sense. Like my goal is financial freedom. Then why am I leveraging so much and risking so much when that's just going to put me at risk? And that made no sense. And then it kind of changed my whole mindset, and it helped me out a lot in reality. But overall, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't be worried about credit because I got into credit card debt at a certain point. I got lucky that I got out, but it could have gone terribly. So I just would have avoided like the plague. I would have focused on, for example, just my personal finances, staying out of debt. And when it came time to buy a house, if I had income, I had bill payments like my rent bill, my phone bill, my light bill, my utility bill, those would be sufficient to actually justify giving me a loan in the first place. And I would just buy whatever I want to buy, just pay cash for it. Now, the fifth thing I actually regret was basically buying a home way too early. Now, I come from the generation of like finance on YouTube. So it's kind of weird to say that, right? But we kind of started that, right? So it was like when I was growing up, really when I was in college, that's when YouTube was kind of like popping off. And people were actually not YouTube popping off, but like the finance area in YouTube popping off. People making videos about like finance or real estate, all this stuff. That was pretty cool, right? But then it got to the point where I felt like if you don't have a house and you're like 24, you must be a loser, right? It's just how things work. But in reality, that's so dumb. I wish I would have bought a house when I needed a house, and I didn't buy a house just because I felt like it was a next step in whatever fake formula I thought it was when it came to finance. Okay, so today I'm actually selling that house, trying to break even on it, but I wouldn't have bought a house in the first place. It makes no sense. I would have bought a house when I needed a house, not whenever I just felt like it was the right step to actually take. Now, number 6, guys, is going to be not investing early enough. I started investing at age 19, which sounds pretty early, but I was working since age like 17 and 18, and all that money I made, I basically wasted it. And when I first started working, there was so much money and I had so much ideas and I started testing so many things, which is normal. But if I could have learned about investing a lot earlier, like at age 17, I would have started investing right then and there, and I would put my money just into the S&P 500 and let that money sit there. And by today, I would have like from that investment, like probably like 30, 40, $50,000 extra. I'm still doing good, but it's kind of like crazy to think about like all that waste and money that came from like not knowing about investing early enough and not starting early enough. So there is no age that's too early for investing. If you're 12 years old watching this video, get investing right now, okay? Then number 7, which is the last thing, is not seeing the value in books and learning and courses. I hated reading. I hated all those things. And if I could go back again, I would just read and devour a lot more things. And instead of reading so many books, I just would have focused on a few good books and just read those over and over and over again and kept applying. So some of those books would be basically The Psychology of Money, The Richest Man in Babylon, and also The Millionaire Next Door. Those books right there, man, like they helped me out so much. You know, one taught me the truth about who are the wealthy in the world. That's The Millionaire Next Door. Psychology of Money taught me how to think about money, like from a logical point of view. Richest Man in Babylon gave me simple, applicable things. And then just like Dave Ramsey overall helped me out a ton. So The Total Money Makeover is also a great book. But for the most part, reading those books over and over and over again would have just cemented me. Okay, that would have been great. So those are 7 mistakes that I actually regret. And it's like, even when you try to avoid these mistakes, you can still kind of like make these mistakes. So it's like Psychology of Money is a great book because it kind of tells you like, hey, when you're making a decision, you make the best decision possible in that moment, in that time right there. So it's not like you're making a bad decision, but it's just the best decision in the moment for that moment right there. Okay, so try to make the best decision and not overthink it, but make sure everything is there. Okay, that's it, guys, for this video. Thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.